Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Bears Den, presented by WARR Media. I am Saul Rodriguez, joined by my co-host today, Joe Tanksley and Sean Sierra, who you can see host the Sports Zone in Chicago. Here, of course, is our on-field reporter. He was there for the debacle on Sunday, doing great work for us despite just a horrendous game. But man, and also on the bright side, I'm here to also introduce our newest WARR member, Russell Wiafi, who will be with us throughout the season, doing some writing. He did this week's 3 and Out, had some great points in there. So definitely let you have some time to speak your mind on that. But, overall, gentlemen, I think it's a good place to vent right now because the Bears, it seems like, new year, but same thing, same story, right? So we'll start off with that because the Packers came into Soldier Field and beat the Bears 38-20. And on top of that news, more injury news happened today because they announced that Jaquan Brisker has been put on the injured reserve with the broken hand. So, I mean,
No,
just
that's
keeps
not
getting a
Jaquan.
little,
That's Kyler. Kyler
or
Murray.
Kyler, sorry, Kyler, yeah. And so I mean, just the news just keeps getting worse and worse for the Bears. It doesn't get any better, right? So we'll start with you, Sean. You were at the game, man. Just how do you feel about it? Just days removed from that now.
Um, Still surprised. Still, you know what? The biggest thing is I was disappointed. That was the biggest thing. And that turned to anger quickly. But it was the anger stemmed from disappointment. The team wasn't prepared. Multiple players said they didn't have the juice. They weren't, fired up enough. They weren't, which to me boggles my mind because how can you not have the juice and be excited after 10 straight losses and off season? You added some pieces to make your team better, and then you have the entire off season, mini camp, OTAs, training camp, and you show up flat. There's no reason. There's no reason on God's green earth that you should be missing the juice, as some of them said. That points directly toward Coach Eberflus, okay? Because that means that they weren't focused and they weren't prepared. Now, that didn't happen on Sunday. That happened during the week. All right, so now I have to look at Coach Eberflus a lot more, especially with the side eye and not having these guys prepared. So it was frustrating. The fans were booing the Bears. It was embarrassing for them. And you know what? The fact of the matter is, Justin Fields came out and said, he played a little conservative. Why? Why are you? Why is he being conservative? The calling was horrible. I know Coach Luke Getz came out today in his presser and said that, they did some good things out there. I'm like, yeah, you didn't do a lot of good things. Part of it, old school me, again, I may be on my soapbox saying, get off my lawn, but you know what? Maybe he has to throw Justin under the bus. Maybe he's got to say, hey, Justin's got to play better. Maybe he's got to tell him that. Maybe he's got to be a little nasty. You know what? And I don't know about today's athletes, because if you do put them on Front Street or you do call them out, many of them will have a tendency to crumble or cry or ask to be traded. But this is a man's game. All right, you can't have soft feelings. You can't be too sensitive. Okay, and I think that's what needs to happen. There needs to be some adults, some men, some alpha male conversations from Eberflus and Poles to this team. Kevin Warren, I'm sure, talked to it, and there are reports that Michael McCaskey was there today. They hate losing to the Packers, and to get embarrassed like that, trust me, I'm sure he had a lot of words to say. So toward the staff, toward the players. So it was again the biggest disappointment, and I'm just hurt more than angry. I'm really disappointed in their lackluster effort. I'm disappointed in the play calling. I'm disappointed in the execution. I'm disappointed in the lack of growth, or what it seems like the regressment of Justin Fields. And it's frustrating when you're expecting him. I'm expecting him to have a jump. It's his second year in the system. Had an entire offseason, added new players, targets DJ Moore only twice, both for catches and first downs. There were just so many different things that were wrong with his game, wrong with his game plan, and the fans let him know about it. They let him know about it early.
Yeah, and you mentioned it with some of the booings and the fans, and that's another thing too, is that it was, Jaquan Brisker who urged the fans to be patient, refrain from booing, like there was plenty of game left. I'm like, come on, man, like,
No, dude, you don't
come
get it.
on. Like, no way you're trying to tell us not to boo.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, regardless of how much season is left, like, you're gonna be booing, thinking it's just tough out there. Regardless, you got to take that. But Russell, man, what'd you think about this game? And just it was a disaster, but in
Mhm.
your opinion, you had your great 3-and-out piece from this week, and you talked
Yep.
about it on
Yep.
there.
All
So,
right.
how do you feel in general from it?
I mean, being a Bears fan, obviously disappointed, right? It's sad, especially when Green Bay, after losing Aaron Rodgers to Jets, come in your home and it's a beat down, right? So honestly, I mean, I watched the game entirely. I had no opportunity to go to the stadium. I was just watching from the comfort of my home. But I think that Sean summarized everything. But at the end of the day, I feel like the blame is on the coach as well as the offensive coordinator. Lugersi had no game plan because we all know that Justin obviously is mobile quarterback, right? He's not 34, 35, 36-year old quarterback that will literally stay in the pocket and throw deep throws, right? No way Justin is like that. He's mobile. I started watching him from Ohio State, where literally he had good players at Ohio State. I mean, comparing that to the NFL is entirely different. But he's not that, you know, a pocket quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, and all of that. He's not like that. He's really mobile, like the hedge from the quarterback for the Philly. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I'm going to blame Luke Gessie for getting the game plan wrong and not helping Justin Fields put him to a place where he'll be successful, especially with his mobility, right? And Sean said it, for the Bears to trade the overall pick for DJ Moore and just allow DJ Moore to have just two target. I mean, if you read the column that I wrote, you understand what I'm saying. Just two target for 25 yards. That is not DJ Moore that we know. DJ Moore is very, very electrifying. So the game plan right from the word jump was just wrong. So again, moving forward, especially with the next game on Sunday against the Tampa Buccaneers, I'm expecting to see a lot of mobility from Justin Fields. I'm expecting a lot from the offensive coordinator. Again, we can talk more about the defensive play, but at the end of the day, we need to focus more on Justin Fields. Justin is mobile. He can't just stay in the pocket and throw the throw. So for me, this is just my take. We can talk more on Chase Claypool, his demeanor and what he did on the field of play. Very, 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 very poor on his part. There is no way, Mike Tomlin will trade a player like Chase Claypool to the Bears. It means that there's something wrong with Chase Claypool, right? But there's so many things that are really wrong with this team. I think it's just first game. We still have 60 more games to go. So let's pull our brakes on a little bit. I know Chicago fans can be ruthless. Let's relax a little bit. Let's see what pounds out, especially in the next game on Sunday against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, and you mentioned it with with the lack of throws to DJ Moore, lack of targets, and even like Luke Getsy, he went out there today and said that the offense did a lot of good things. I don't know
Nah,
about that. So Joe, what is your take on just the game overall?
I think, anytime you have Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears is going to bring out a lot of emotion, and you can feel it on the show right now. It's a lot of emotion, and Bears fans, me included, had so much hope. Everett Rodgers, like you said, Russell had moved on to the Jets. It's kind of like a fresh start. Because like he said it himself, he owns us. So now the boogeyman is gone. So we finally have a chance to come in and grab this thing and try to take the north. When they go out there and lay an egg like that. What I'm saying? I think for the Bears fans that, had such high hopes, they really let the fans down. I think that's where all this emotion is coming from. It's the first game of the season against your most hated rival, and you come out unprepared to play, with no energy, no juice, um, with a piss poor game plan, poor execution on offense and defense. There's no way that, that should have happened, last week, and you know, I'm disappointed. What I'm saying, and for a short period, I was embarrassed to be a Bears fan for a little bit. But I'm ride or die, so I'm ride or die, so that's not going to change. But
Yep.
I was a little bit embarrassed for a little bit. The whole off season up until now was a big build up. I think had it even been a closer game, where and we lost, but we really played hard. I think fans probably would have been, they would have been, we would have been salty, but we would have felt okay because we put a, good fight in. But there was no fight in that team. There was no fight.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I think, Russell kind of alluded to it a little bit, the fact that maybe, and so did Sean as well, maybe put in, more accountability on Fields, that it's not just the coaching. I watched the QB school. I'm sure a lot of people have as well by now, and the Bears lost. There were some plays where he just waited too long when he actually had time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys feel about this individual from an individual performance side of things with Fields? And if you think he does or does not deserve a lot of the blame, we'll start with you, Sean.
He deserves a lot of the blame. All right, there's, as much as we want to blame Getsy and talk about the game plan, there was still plenty of plays he should have made. All right, in regardless of how bad the game plan was, you have to make the plays when the plays are there to be made. And he came in and he talked about, he was a little too conservative. But again, why? My question, the biggest question I have is, are you coaching Justin Fields out of Justin Fields? See, this is very reminiscent of what happened to Mitch
Exactly my
Trubisky
point,
in 2018,
Exactly my
2019. Okay, 2018, Mitch had a great year. He was running a lot. And 2019, you could tell that he was told he must win from the pocket. And you know what? First of all, Justin is a pocket passer. I mean, that's what he was at Ohio State. He only runs because he has to. But that doesn't mean you need to stop and take away that particular weapon. And they didn't. How many times did they move the pocket, roll him out? They didn't do that. They didn't put him in the best position to be successful. All right. Compound that with the fact that he's missing open receivers, the fact that he's missing guys who are, literally wide open. Okay. That in conjunction with the poor game plan, it's there's plenty of blame to go around. Justin Fields has his part of the blame to hold because he's a quarterback. All right, he's the one, and he was asked if he's got a chance to call the plays and make the play, change the plays, and he does, and he said he does. So, Justin's got to play better. And here's a question that I wanted to ask. I wanted to go up to Hallis Hall today, but I couldn't because I had a doctor's appointment for my mom. My biggest question is, what's your identity? What's your identity? Last year, it took a while, and you were a running team. Okay, good. Are you going to be a running team again this year? Or are you going to be a passing team? If you're going to be a passing team, you better start throwing the ball. And if you're going to be a passing team, your offensive line better protect better. If you're going to be a passing team, you better get everybody involved. You need to get Justin involved early. So, and one of the things, the biggest thing that I have, not the biggest, one of the things that I had noticed, and this really bugged me. First drive, you guys remember, third down, the tight end sneak. I was pissed because here's a chance to make a statement. Again, here I'm Get Off My Lawn segment, all right? We might have to name this as the segment. Sean's Get Off My Lawn segment. All right, you get a chance to make a statement, okay? You get a chance to bring in a backup guard to Tyree Carter, report him as eligible, put him in motion, and have him knock the dog snot out of a three tech or a defensive end. And then you have the fullback Card Blasingame up right behind him. And then, sorry, Khalil Herbert, either Deontay Foreman or Roshan Johnson behind him to gain 1 yard. Because what that does, that sets a tone for the team you're playing, which was the Packers, which you need to set the tone. It sets a tone for the NFC North because now they're like, oh, shit, here's what they're going to do. On third, they're bringing beef in. It sets a tone for the entire NFC. But most importantly, it sets a tone for your team. Because now your team is like, oh, man, we about it this year. We ain't half stepping. We ain't doing shit half-assed. We're going all out. And there's a statement to be made. You can kill a fly with a fly swatter, or you can kill them with a sledgehammer. Big difference. One makes a bigger statement than the other. That's what the Bears should have done to make that statement. We're going for it. We're coming at you. I mean, I was just watching the Eagles game a little while ago. Man, they had two tight ends. They had a lineman, a tight end in the backfield. I mean, and hell, Green Bay didn't have a problem reporting eligible linemen plenty of times during the game. 62 is reported eligible. 62 is reported. They had no problem with it. We did, and that was the biggest thing that not the biggest. That was one of the big things that bugged me is we didn't set the tone. We didn't, and that to me was important. That's why I'm looking at Coach Eberflus with the side eye, because if you want to come in and this is a new season and you're talking about big changes, you're talking about the Bears being improved. Well, this is a new look Bears, and that should have been the first thing. We're going to punch you in the mouth. Now we might not win as many as we want, but guess what? You're going to get punched in the mouth, and you're going to walk out of there with some bruises, and you're going to be feeling it all week. And he dropped the ball.
Yeah, you're right. I think from all standpoints, a lot of people dropped the ball. And I think that's one of the things that Russell also alluded to was the fact that Chase Claypool, man. I mean, you're talking about one of the guys. And Sean, I saw your tweets. But man, you're not the only one just absolutely toasting this man, deservedly so, because his blocking was one of the main talking points, to the point where they asked Eberflus about it yesterday at the presser. If Equity Mia St. Brown will be active Sunday, just for his blocking. So and they said that he said that he's considering everything's on the table. So, well, Russell, what are your thoughts on that in general overall? Like, obviously there's a lot wrong with this offense, but how do you feel about not only the accountability for Fields, but also just a guy like Claypool as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the defense, right? Like they say, like the best 1985 team won the chip, right? It's all about defense. Defensive or defense win games. That's what they say in the NFL, right? And you talk about defense and the best defense, especially with Nate Davis. He literally failed to practice, right? We saw videos of him talking to Eberflus at Hallis Hall. We saw him not practicing. He had issues and all of that. I had no opportunity to be there to see it, but I mean, reports on social media and everywhere said that he failed to train. So these are some of the things that we're saying, right? Because you cannot play the game to stay fit. You need to train to stay fit to play the game, right? So again, it's not only going to be on defense. The blame is not on defense alone, on offensive alone, like Justin Fields and Luke Gesson and all of that. Especially the defense. We can literally talk about the defensive coordinator, the things that he failed to do, the things that they did right, and the players that failed to show up. Most of the players in defense failed to show up because for Green Bay Packers, we'd love to drop almost 40 points at Soldier Field. That is egregious, man. So for me, I think the blame is always going to be on Eberflus. But again and again, going forward, we still have so many games to play. We still have 60 more games to play, right? We cannot be crying over sport mill. We cannot be crying over just one game. I understand where Sean is coming from. I understand where Joe is coming from. We just have to move on, especially with the Buccaneers. We need to win that game. I know it's going to be hot. I've been to Florida. It's literally hot. You can't take a deep breath. But there's no way they have to lose this game. They have to win this game because guess what? Week 3, they're going to Kansas to face the Chiefs. And
that's why it's a must win. That's why it's a must win, and that's why we're talking about. It's a must. It's a must win in week 2 because if you're staring at 0-3, if you lose Sunday, you're 0-3. All right, and the reason being, remember, and I had said earlier in the season, before the season started, I said, watch week 3. The Bears could jump up and make a statement at Kansas City. Well, thank the Detroit Lions for screwing that up by beating the Chiefs at home, and now the Chiefs are on 10. All right, now they got Clark, they got Fred Clark back, they got Travis Kelce back. So ain't nothing happening at Arrowhead this year, the rest of the year, especially the teams that aren't on their level. And if you're doing that, you might be looking at at 0-5, 0-6, because after the Chiefs, you got the Denver Broncos coming to town. Okay, are they a much better team? Well, I don't know. We'll find out. They're 0-1 right like we are, but there's a different attitude, a new coach. We'll find out. But then the Washington Commanders, we go there. Can we win that one? I don't know. And then Minnesota comes to Chicago, and we don't look. So we're looking at 0-5, 0-6. If we don't win this game right here, we're literally staring at 0-5, 0-6. And trust me, we 0-5, 0-6. We ain't making the playoffs.
And here's the thing that's crazy because we came on here last week, Sean, and we said 9 wins. I said 9 wins.
Yeah, I said 10.
Wins, and that's what that loss does. It puts everything into question. Saying that we had hope for. I think Russell is right. Going to Tampa Bay is a must-win situation. You don't want to go to Kansas City 0-2, and typically, we do see the biggest jumps between week 1 and week 2 with NFL teams. And so they have an opportunity to correct themselves. I think you alluded to it, Sean. A lot of times you get these offensive coordinators and they want to be the smartest person in the room. They try to outsmart everyone. Well, sometimes when you try to outsmart people, you end up looking stupid. And that's what the Bears did. They looked stupid. You know, why would we motion Cole Kmet to take a snap and try to sneak the ball? You were absolutely right. I was screaming the same thing, from a friend's house. We were watching the game together. But I think football, we got all these fancy offensive now and, all these fancy formations, but it's still a very simple game. You win in the trenches, you dominate on from the line of scrimmage, and that's where you make your statements at. I think as far as the coaching, you alluded to the coaching of Justin Fields. He's been hearing it. Saying you can't hold on to the ball too early. You got to hit the check down. You got to do this. You got to do that. All of this is going on in his mind. And I don't think the coaches did a great job of simplifying the game for him, and doing some of those things that has worked for him early on. You got to let him have some success early, and then you start mixing those things in. You don't take away the run game. You said it too, Russell. He is mobile. He's, no one's running like, Justin right now. You know what I'm saying? So you still need to keep those things, no quarterback design runs, no RPO action where he can take it out and sneak around the end and get a big gain. None of that happened. Those are the things that make him dangerous, those things. And you didn't even show any of that. And I understand that, Green Bay played a lot of zone and everything, but you have to make them be honest. You just can't let them jump, fall back and wait to make a play. You have to take it to them. And the Bears did not do that. Tampa Bay is definitely a must win. I think it's a good matchup, for them. I think Tampa Bay is kind of high because they went in Minnesota and snuck one out. And they're a team that's, kind of rebuilding too. They still got a lot of talent, but I think, this is definitely a game that the Bears can win. But they have to come in and show that they're, that they're ready and they do got that juice.
Yeah, you're right. I think, moving on and looking at the matchup, as you mentioned it, against the Buccaneers, they now embark on back-to-back road games starting in Tampa against Baker Mayfield and the 1-0 Buccaneers. I mean, Baker went 21 for 34, thrown for 2 touchdowns, passing for 173 yards in the 20-17 victory over the Vikings. Look, they edged the Vikings out. Kirk Cousins had 3 turnovers. And they weren't able to take advantage of it. They scored 3 points off those 3 turnovers. How do you guys look at this matchup? Because they have a lot of weapons on the offensive end, and it's not even because it's not even Baker. They have enough offensive weapons to beat this Bears team. So how do you look at this, Sean? How do you look at this matchup and see it faring for the Bears this week?
Everything's got to starts up in the front on the front lines, and that's the defensive line. Are we gonna get pressure? Are we gonna move from a spot? Are we going to allow that secondary to really act like the ball hawks that they are by forcing the quarterback either to throw too soon or to throw too late? All right. If we get him off his spot, or if we don't get him off his spot, but we hit him to throw too soon, it's in our favor. If we move him off our spot and he tries to sneak one in, he's throwing too late. We have to, the D line needs to get pressure. And the thing about Coach Williams, I hope everything's okay with him personally because he wasn't at Hallis Hall today. He was supposed to speak. Thursdays are the days that you speak to the coordinators. So he wasn't in the building for personal reasons. So hopefully everything's okay. But, dude, you can't come in. You can't keep trying to bring home or get home with 4. And if you're not getting home, keep rushing 4. You need to bring a 5th person. You got to bring a 5th person here. And, for me, it's bothersome because, don't you know that? You talked about, football is football. You can, coverage is coverage. It doesn't take a whole day to recognize sunshine. By that, I mean, it doesn't take a whole day to recognize that you can't get to the passer with a quarterback with 4 guys. So you need to adjust. All right. You need to adjust.
You know what? I know we keep going back to this, but Green Bay was without, Christian Watson, and the only one they had was Romeo Dobbs and somebody else who we don't even know. This was a perfect opportunity to bring 5-man pressure and play man. You got, a young corner in Tyreek Stevenson. You got Jalen Johnson. Man up and play and blitz him. It changes the whole game. But it didn't happen. I think.
Takes, you know what else it does? You know what else it
Mhm.
does? It shocks the hell out of Green Bay because Green Bay is expecting us to run cover 2. They're
Right.
expecting us to run cover 2, which they ran as well. But nonetheless, you're expecting them to run cover 2. So you're going to be calling a lot of plays with cover 2 in mind. So if you start going man, well, all of a sudden those routes, the route concepts that you have, they're going to be null and void because they're probably not going to be effective versus man when they would be effective against cover 2. So just because you run cover 2, all right, and that's your favorite defense, doesn't mean you can't run cover 3. Doesn't mean you can't go cover 4. Doesn't mean you can't go cover 1.
Right.
Doesn't mean you can't do that. And they need to mix that up more until the defensive line gets to the point where they can get home with 4. But we can't get home with 4 yet. So now we got to bring 5, and you can play. You got to play something else behind that to throw people off. Because if you would have done that, that could have been a pick, and that pick could have been a pick 6, but 2 could have got the offense going. That's what that does. Confusion. It's a chess game, and for you to stay there in a cover 2, knowing everyone and their mama knows you're going to run a cover 2, and you can't get home. What that's literally like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, well, and Russell,
I think
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna shift it over to Russell.
Yeah.
How about you go?
No, it's fine. He can go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I think you're all right, but again, I feel like Rashawn Johnson was fabulous in the game. So for us to win the game in Tampa, if Justin is not really up there yet, right? Why can't we run the ball? Because I was watching the Eagles game against Minnesota just right now, right? In the second quarter, they run the ball almost 10 times and had a touchdown, right? So why can't we run the ball? This is what I'm saying. And you see, we can go around and all of that, but what is Luke Gessie doing? He was good with Green Bay Packers some few seasons ago. He was running the ball. Why?
Yeah, but he wasn't calling plays in Green Bay.
He was calling the game.
He wasn't. He wasn't calling plays. That was, it was either LaFleur or it was either the guy that just got Denver.
I mean, he was still part of the team. That's what I'm saying.
There's a big difference of being part of the team and making the calls. Big difference between the vice president and the president, assistant head coach and head coach.
I understand what you're saying, but all I'm saying is that if he was a part of a team that constantly run the ball, even Rodgers failed to push the ball forward, why can't we do the same thing in Chicago? This is what I'm saying. If Justin can get the ball up the field, throw deep throws and all of that, we have players who can literally run the ball, right?
Here's the problem: that offensive line. That's the problem. You had Tevin Jenkins there to start, and he starts the season, which you anticipated,
right.
And so he's gone. And then you got Cody White. You have Cody Whitehair.
But then the right was good.
But see, you have to understand the run game is your inside 3, your 2 guards and your tackle and your center.
Yep.
That's the run game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's the run game. If you can't control those, if those 3 guys aren't good, you're not going to have a good run game. And they're not that good because you got Cody Whitehair. You have the depth is where we're lacking. That's where it is we're lacking. And if we, we're gonna face a lot of good teams with good defenses, and they realize and they know, believe me, they know that our front 3 or interior linemen they're not very good, and who knows when we're gonna get Tevin Jenkins back, and once he does come back, how successful he's gonna be. So they got to figure something out. They signed a guy, Neely, I want to say. They signed him, so get him in the game. I mean, you have to do something to get those 3, the 2 guards in the center. You got to get those guys in sync, and they have to get chemistry, because if not, you're not going to be able to run the ball. I mean, Philly was able to run the ball, I think it was 7-8 times in a row, okay, because they have a stud offensive line. All right, so if nothing else, Poles and Eberflus, they drafted 2 defensive linemen. They drafted an O-lineman and Darnell Wright, 2 defensive linemen after that. You might have to go 2 offensive linemen to start this season, next year, or offensive lineman and a stud receiver, whatever. But you're going to need to build those trenches because we don't have the offensive line that Philly does, and Philly just ran it down their throats. I hear you, bro. But if you don't have those horses up front, It sounds good. It
So my
sounds good, but
You know,
my question is, if Justin is not getting the ball deep down the field, what do? We still got to run the ball, right?
the problem is Justin had time, and that's the thing that we're confused about. Like, man, Justin, like you had time. There was plenty of time, plenty of different plays and opportunities to get the ball downfield, and he didn't grip it and rip it. Like, what are you doing? Like, there is so many. You talked about the quarterback. Was it the quarterback teacher or whatever?
Oh,
Who
QB
was
school.
QB school.
Okay.
Yeah, and he does a great job of breaking it down. And then he showed all the different times where that ball's got to come out, even if it's for 7 yards, because now you're 2nd and 3. Now you're 2nd and 3, and you're ahead of the chains. So when you don't do that, and you take a sack, or you throw the ball out of bounds, or you scramble and get 1 or 2 yards, well, now you're still behind the chains. Now it's 2nd and 9. All right, and we can't say we don't have the offense. We're not in sync yet. Or we're 2nd and 9, 39 is not a big deal. We're not the Chiefs. All right.
and here's the thing. Another reason you can't run the ball. They had such trouble establishing the run. They were behind the chains. Too many penalties on the offensive line that push them back. And once you get those penalties that put you behind the chains, you really have no choice but to throw.
Yeah.
Throw to kind of make up that yardage. You can maybe sneak in the screen pass or anything like that. But you mentioned, how the interior of the line is not so good right now. I would, welcome seeing, a Ja'Tyre Carter come in and play a little bit, because we've seen him during preseason. He suited up. He went out there and thudded guys. What did Nate Davis do? Nothing.
Yeah. Exactly.
He got in the game on Sunday. He did in the game. Nate Davis got in the game Sunday and did nothing.
But here's where politics is over performance, and that's the business of the NFL. Politics over,
right. Yeah,
and that's
to practice
politics over
week.
paycheck. Yeah.
Yep.
And they paid him $30 million.
Yep.
$30 million.
And so since we're blaming, Matebo Flores and Luke Getzi and all of that, what about Ryan Post, right? Because for me, I think he got the Chase Claypool deal absolutely wrong. It's a best for now. Because Chase Claypool, I don't see him how he's going to recover and make plays. So
he can, but it's bad now.
I doubt it. I doubt the guy is done, bro. He's literally done.
But you're just telling us. You just told us it's one game and not to get excited, and now you're like, okay, he's done after one game.
But you see, this is just an individual who's got 4 years, almost 5 years in the NFL, right? And I said it initially, right? If Mike Tomlin would trade a player, remember what Antonio Brown did. And if he would trade players like Antonio Brown and Chase Claypool, the Bears were the least or the least team to go for Chase Claypool. And for me, I think he's done. There's no way he's going to come back, especially from what I'm seeing from social media and from Chicago Bears fans like we here. I don't see him coming back. It's tough, and I'm going to blame Ryan Post for this whole scenario, which is Claypool. And
but what if he comes back and gets 5 catches for 125 yards and a tutty next week? Are you gonna?
Right.
And now it's 1-1. So now it's one good game, one crap game.
I don't see it coming. I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
What it really boils down to, Sean alluded to it. It's politics and money. And at the end of the day, if Chase Claypool wants some money, if he likes money, he's gonna come out there and play. Yep. And that's what it boils down to.
You're right. Yeah. You're right. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
No, I said, yeah, you're right. It shouldn't come to that. It really shouldn't, because at some particular point, there has to be a spot where you play to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to have pride in your game. And as a wide receiver, your game includes pass blocking or blocking for your fellow wide receivers. Mm-hmm. Your game includes being a decoy. All right. If you're a decoy, you have to run your routes as hard as if you're going to get the ball. When you come off, with half effort, quarterback knows you're not getting the ball. So now the cornerback can fudge and kind of help and with other people's responsibilities, because you're not getting the ball because you just told him you're not getting the ball because you came off half-assed. So, and these are all things that are part of your job, and he's not doing it. So a conversation needs to be had with Chase Claypool. And you know what? If they decide to bench him and make him a non-dressed, and you're not on the active roster, I think that sends a message. So here's a whole
Mm-hmm.
bunch of different times where Eberflus is not sending a message, and I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it. You have to you cannot let the inmates run the asylum. All right, you cannot. And it's to start. Nate Davis was wrong. All right, he hadn't been
Mm-hmm.
there. He had personal issues. Again, I hope everything's okay in his personal life. But hey, this is business, and I can't put you in a tanks. And you said it. The Tyree Carter was in there. All right, and I know he might not be as good as Nate Davis, but at least he's got some chemistry with everybody else on that offensive line. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a couple of things that Coach Eberflus isn't doing. The biggest one was not setting the tone, because that has to be discussed beforehand. You had all off
Mm-hmm.
season. Like, what if on the first series we're 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1? What do you do? All right, here's what we do. We bring in the jumbo package. All right, hell,
Mm-hmm.
bring 2 offensive linemen in, and have Kari Blasting game be the tailback. You know what I mean? Or if you want, you can. There's a whole bunch of things you can do to get 1 yard, and to make a statement. This is all game prep, and they didn't do it. So yeah, I, like many Bear fans, are looking at you with the side eye, Coach Eberflus, big time.
Yeah, 100%, man. And you guys brought up some great points, but it's time to move on. Last thing I wanted to ask you guys has to do with the rest of the NFL. Obviously, the biggest storyline across the NFL has to be the season-ending Aaron Rodgers injury. 4 plays into Monday Night Football. Absolutely insane turn of events. Like, what are you guys' thoughts on the Jets now? Because do you see them still competing for a playoff spot with Zach Wilson? I know you laugh, but I mean, with that defense, some people say, hey, he just has to be serviceable, and you never know.
You
But
know what?
Joe, go ahead. What are your thoughts on the Jets?
You know what? I think the New York Jets can, still make some noise in that division. It's not going to be as easy, but here's the thing: it was the first game of the season. Like, just like we, overreacted to the first game of the season. Who knows? It was only 4 plays. Who knows that if Aaron Rodgers was going to be even good? It's like a tragic comedy though, for them, because just like them, the New York Jets, just like us, the New York Jets had so much hope. And now it's all going down right now. But I think, Zach Wilson got a little bit of humble pie. Saying I think he came in kind of too brash, early on, and didn't do the things necessary to kind of endear himself to his team and really learn the game, the NFL game. And I think he's going to be much better, this go round. I think that defense in New York is very formidable, and they still got a chance. They got a puncher's chance. I don't think it's over for them yet.
What about you, Russell? What's your outlook on the Jets in general?
I mean, it's not even about the Jets. I feel like if Aaron Rodgers is not there, they can't make it to the obviously to the playoffs in the Super Bowl. Fine, they got good defense. They can run the ball, they can protect the ball, and all of that. Zach Wilson is not a guy. They knew it. They said on the podium that he's not a guy. So obviously, this is why they went for Aaron Rodgers. But one thing that I really want to say is the artificial grass is not helping athletes, and that is what we need to talk about, especially this day and age, right? I'm a soccer guy. I live in England a little bit and all of that. I'm saying all these grasses, the natural one that they play on, it helps these guys. It helps protect these guys, right? But when you come to the NFL, it seems like because of money, because preserving the natural grass it comes with money, right? It's very, very, very expensive. It's no joke. So most of these NFL owners really want to go for the artificial one. It's easy to manage it. It's easy to protect it and all of that, but it's killing the players because you could tell the injury Aaron Rodgers sustained. It's not really something that has to keep him throughout the entirety of the season, right? But this is where we are. So this is another school of thought that we can say, hey, the NFL owners will have to come clean and change the dynamics, change the way and manner they try as much as possible to manage this place, especially on the artificial grass. Change it, turn it around. Back in the days, like in 1960s, the 70s and 80s, when they had the natural grass. So they'll be able to protect their key assets. You don't want to lose a key player like Aaron Rodgers, right? This is a guy. People look at the stadium. I mean, the MetLife Stadium when they played on Monday, the whole place was packed. And when he went out, you could see some of these fans crying, right? So you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose all this money. You don't want to lose key players like Rodgers. You don't want to lose these guys because of the artificial, turf or the green grass they have. So there's another school of thought where the owners will have to just come clean and change the whole dynamics of the game.
What about you, Sean? What do you think about the Jets? I mean, it's a good point with artificial turf. I mean, other sports they bring it up all the time, and in the NFL, I feel like that it's not enough time talked about enough, really, honestly. But what are your thoughts overall on the Jets, man?
Well, the Jets are done. They're done. All right, look at the division they're in. All right, you got Josh Allen. All right, you have Tua. All right, and you have the Pats. I don't know about them, but you got Josh Allen and Tua. Those are the two teams that were, have stud quarterbacks, and you got to have stud quarterback play to even compete. Him being gone, the most telling thing about them and why they're done is when he talked to Garrett Wilson. He was like, "Sorry, kid." Like Garrett Wilson was ready to become a freaking superstar, and with Aaron Rodgers, like that, Aaron Rodgers had his young, buck strong wide receiver who could do everything. You saw the touchdown pass he threw in a preseason game. Threw it right over the defender's head. He just flicked it because he knew it. Garrett Wilson just reached over, grabbed it, touchdown, DB did it. Like, can you imagine me? Jets fans were fired up, and just think we were pissed. Imagine them. That literally was a sledgehammer to their chest. Hell, that was a sledgehammer to your nuts, because that was, if you're a Jets fan, you're like, our whole season's over. Now, can they find a Kurt Warner? I don't know. That's going to be pretty tough. But then again, we didn't know Kurt Warner's going to be Kurt Warner until Kurt Warner got to play. So, hey, Zach Wilson, here's your shot. Here's your shot.
What about Tom Brady going to the Jets?
No, he's not going. He said he's not going. He's not going. No, he's not. Yeah, rumors had it. He's like, no, I'm done. I'm retired. And don't be wrong, that'd be a great pick or a great fit, because that's all they needed was, because Aaron Rodgers still plays at an unbelievably high level. He's not the best quarterback in the NFL, but damn, he's in that top tier. He's still in that top tier of quarterbacks. And you add that with that defense that the Jets have, and the stud wide receivers that they had, and the stud run, and the great running game that they have with Bryce Hall and Dalvin Cook. Man, they were set. They were set, but they're done, bro. They're done.
What about you, Joe? You think the Jets are cooked? Put a fork on
I just said they had a puncher's chance. I think they got a puncher's chance. I think with that defense and that strong running game, they can play a ball control game and win some, still win.
Yeah. But I think it's a good place to wrap things up for this edition of the Bears Den. I want to thank all my co-hosts today, Joe Tanksley, as well as Russell Wiafi, as well as Sean Sierra. I want to thank everyone for watching all the coverage of the Bears with the pregame and all that, as well as reading our stuff on Substack. Check out the new Slam Society podcast, as well as At Bat this week. Once again, thanks everyone for coming on and watching. This was the Bears Den, presented by WARR Media.